Fine. Good morning, everyone. So we are about the uh, session of this day 4. Okay. So we'll start with continuation of yesterday's point of this inference. That is what we call. Yesterday we have covered one sample t-test, two sample t-test, paid samples. Okay. And then today what we do, paid sample, one-way ANOVA. Today we will cover this paid sample t-test and two-way ANOVA with pairwise comparisons. Okay. The pairwise comparisons and two-way ANOVA. Now after that we'll go with simple correlation and regression. And thereafter today we at the most we'll try to cover multiple linear regression concept. Okay, fine. Now let me start sharing my screen. Yesterday what we have done in a similar manner, we'll try to understand the code first and then we'll go ahead with the computation and interpretation aspect. Okay, fine. Yeah. Now we'll start with the paid sample t-test, or we'll go with chi-square test first. Okay. Mm, chi-square test, for which I need a data called this LBW data alone. Again, I will take because I'm using one particular categorical information to do this chi-square test, and then we'll move to paid sample t-test. Okay. Because paid sample t-test data is about depression. So instead of having a depression data in the first few minutes of the discussion, let us start about mother's data. Then we'll go with the depression data. Okay, right. And now, yeah. In last couple of days, we were discussing about this low birth weight data, where we observed some interesting features that mothers who have a smoking habit, majority of the babies were into the category of low birth weight. So just I want to have a claim here. Claim means a statement I wish to make that is there any association between the smoking habit and towards associating with respect to low birth weight of the baby, or does smoking has its influence, has its association in giving out some sort of impact on normal weight or low birth weight of the baby. So this is the statement what we have observed out of the data. Now, when we have a relational understanding between two continuous variables, then we go with a correlation like speed and the velocity. Okay, and then what we say, the weight of a vehicle and mileage. Okay, and then the whatever all the continuous factors, all these continuous factors belong to, I mean we can use for correlation analysis. But now you want to observe the association, a kind of a relation understanding between categorical information, particularly nominal type, then we have to use this one of the application of chi-square test, chi-square distribution, that is chi-square test for independence of attributes. Okay, and you may raise a question that when we have the, okay, I'll come to that later. Okay, chi-square test for independence of attributes, you have rating data, then you have what we say, this Pearson's correlation or Kendall tau. Based on the different data type, we have a Spearman, a Pearson, Spearman, and Kendall tau. But particularly with the categorical information, we have to go with the chi-square test for independence of attributes. Okay. Now I'm calling. First, I'm converting the entire, because the LBW data is in the proper data frame. Okay, first from the data frame, I need to create a table of contingency table. Contingency table means low birth weight, normal weight, non-smokers and smokers. So this 2x2 contingency table should be prepared, on which we can define the hypothesis that the smoking habit is independent of the outcome of baby's weight. Okay, that is my null hypothesis. So alternative is smoking habit has its association in impacting the birth weight of the baby. Okay, that is alternative hypothesis we do. After that, to test that hypothesis, okay, to test that hypothesis, we use a chi-square test function that is called CHISQ dot test of that particular contingency table. Okay, let us do, I mean, this is the way we do with chi-square test. For suppose you have already data available in your hand. Okay, already there are many textbooks available where you have ready-made data up to class 2 or 3 class 2 or K or class C data sets available for different chi-square associations. Now, if you have such thing, okay, then here I'm using 3 cross 3 contingency table which is available, okay, which is available already with me. Then these are all the counts. 12 people belong to low category and rural population. 17 people belong to a medium category rural population. 18 people belong to high category and rural population. So these are all the counts pertaining to each combination of these three categories of two attributes. Attribute is nothing but which expresses the qualitative phenomena of a one variable. Okay. Okay. Now, once you define that, how you define this is we are already aware of this particular thing, that when we have a kind of a matrix data, use a matrix function and start the entire enter the entire set of values what you have at hand using a vector definition, and the count should be displayed according to the row wise, that is 12, 17, 8, then 11, 10, 9, then 15, 9, 12. That's why this argument will help us by row equal to true. And how many rows are there? This number of rows is equal to 3. Now, once we execute this, we will get just a matrix without label names of row and column. So row names of A is nothing but, row names is nothing but you will give first row, second row, third row. So first row is low, second row is medium, third row is high. And similarly, column name, call names is equal to C. So I just recollect again the basic difference between a numerical definition of a vector and a string type definition of vector. All the numericals just can be separated by comma, but string should be within the double quotation and should be separated by comma in this vector definition. Okay. Now column names again C of rural, semi-urban and urban. Now this matrix, when we display this A matrix, you will have very nice 3 cross 3 contingency table where the hypothesis is that the opinion, I mean the income category, whatever, it's just arbitrary data what I have taken, that there is an association between the category of row and the column. There also we can do this chi-square test. So in two different ways, we can we can conduct the chi-square test from a data frame, or if we have ready-made data available, from that also we can do chi-square test, provided first you have to define in terms of a matrix corresponding to the number of categories available to you, corresponding to number of categories available in your data set. Okay. Now, what we do is first we will execute, we will understand the another pattern of, sorry, there's some disturbance here. Okay, another test statistic. Then we'll take chi-square test and page sample t-test together. Then we'll understand in SPS, I mean R environment, and then we'll come back to the two-way ANOVA. Okay, we'll try to finish off within 15 to 20 minutes all these things. It won't take much time. Then we can move to simple regression as planned. Okay, now when we go with a page sample, what are the situation, practical situation or experimental condition? We go with a page sample. Okay, paired is nothing but there is a dependency of the numerical quantities what you have recorded with a duration of time, or with the two different treatments. Okay, for example, for example, uh, the hemoglobin levels, when you go for, most of the Indian population is with suffering with diabetic. Hope everyone of you are aware of that. Okay, when you go for giving a blood sample, okay, there is a particular gold standard, that is biomarker called HbA1c. Okay, that most of us are aware of, that fasting blood sugar and postprandial blood sugar, PPBS, FBS and PPBS. That is one simple example to understand that our blood sample, where to observe the sugar levels, that if for us only two recordings are observed, before taking food and after taking food. Particularly why I'm taking this HbA1c, it will take out the 3 months average of your sugar levels in the body. Okay, this is a simple explanation about this HbA1c. There is a lot of clinical terms inside. Okay, now the thing is, for this HbA1c test also, what they do is, suppose 8 o'clock you have gone for giving a blood sample with fasting. Okay, now they will ask you, take food, and from the time of taking food, exactly after 2 hours, come again and give sample. Okay, they want to see the influence of that when you are with a fasting time, what are the sugar levels in your body. Okay, how much the food that you have taken, and then it influences in the sugar levels. Okay, and this HbA1c, that is nothing but there is some kind of a intermediate impact. Okay, intermediate impact, that before and after. Okay, let us take another example of training. Okay, let us take our example only. Most of you might have some sort of a knowledge, to some basic level of knowledge in statistics, and we might be in a hypothetical statement that after the 6 days webinar or any kind of a training program, definitely your knowledge levels of statistics and its applications have, the score has improved to a better extent than what you have earlier. Now, what we are trying to understand here is, for each individual, we are trying to calculate the score before the starting of a training and after the ending of the training. But intermediate state, what we are trying to execute here is, we wish to see the impact, the influence of the training, to whether the knowledge on statistics has been improved with that of this kind of a orientation. Likewise, in most of the epidemiology studies, psychology studies, it comes with the depression levels. This GDS stands for, now coming to the present data, what we are using. This is about GDS data. GDS data is about geriatric depression score scale. Geriatric depression score is particularly used for older aged people, where the elderly people, they feel that they are in depressed. So this scale is used for them. Okay. Now, I'm using the data that after certain counseling period, so they have conducted some experiments for this. They have conducted experiments. They have conducted experiments for. They have conducted experiments for 15 old age women, old age people, and before starting the experiment, they have observed the depression scale, and after the experiment of, let us say, 4 weeks or 5 weeks, then they have observed the geriatric depression scale. Now the investigator wants to verify or examine whether there is an influence of such experimentation in controlling them or declining the depression level. Okay, right? Now, this is the thing, where each elderly woman, each elderly people, are that the GDS is measured, or GDS is taken, recorded before starting the experiment and after the starting experiment. So that's why they labeled it as a pre-GDS and post-GDS. Okay, now I'm reading the file using the path, this path, and this will give me the data set. Now, the same test function we have to use, except only the difference comes, okay, that in this argument. Okay, t dot test. Yesterday also we have used it, right? Yesterday also you see t dot test, the continuous variable across the categorical variable, and then data variance equal to true. The same function, but it has arguments in a different way. That is PS dollar pre-GDS, comma PS dollar post-GDS. Data is stored in PS. Okay, and paired is true. Yes, we are instructing the environment there that the data is of dependent samples. dependent samples. Okay. Now, when we won't consider any kind of an alternative argument here, of a hypothesis argument here, by default it will take two-sided. By default it will take two-sided. Now, but the question was whether there is a declining. We can understand the question in other way also, that whether there is a declinement due to the experimentation in the average GDS score. Okay, so that's what we can understand with that statement is that the on an average the pre-GDS score will be greater than the post GDS score. So I can change this, I can change this as a greater, alternative greater. That is average pre-GDS score will be greater than the pre-GDS score. The average pre-GDS score will be greater than the average post-GDS score. Okay, so when we have the declinement in the sense meant the post value will be smaller than the pre value. Okay, so these simple lines will make us enable to conduct the paid sample t-test in a very simple manner. Now what we do, we take the paid samples, the chi-square table in two different styles, and then we'll work it out. We'll see how to understand the output and what sort of claim we are about to get from these. Okay. Where is my RStudio? Yeah. Now let me start with paid samples. I'm loading the data, then attach table. So now I generated the table. See, non-smokers, normal weight. Okay, there are good amount of counts are observed with the non-smokers and normal weight. So this has created us a kind of a curiosity that does smoking habit really impact on the baby's weight into categorizing low birth weight and normal birth weight. Now let us verify that statement association using chi-square test. Now, this is the chi-square value 4.23 and degrees of freedom is 1. How we got? R minus 1 into C minus 1. R is nothing but number of rows minus 1 into number of columns minus 1. So 2 minus 1, 2 minus 1, that is 1 here. And P value is 0.039. And our value here it has with age continuity correction it has given. Okay, and now here our P value is around 0.039 and the comparative level of significance is 0.05. So with this statement, we are about to reject the null hypothesis that and claiming that smoking has its influence in giving out the outcome in the baby's weight, either it may be a low birth weight or normal birth weight. So smoking has its influence on the weight of the baby. Okay. Now, the another way to do is, the matrix way. We are defining a matrix. See, this here also in matrix, if you observe, the parenthesis 1, comma 2, comma 3, comma. Here, comma 1, comma 2, comma 3. That's it. Always as right within the square parenthesis, the first argument of before the comma is for row, after comma is for column. Okay, I am assigning the row columns, row names, column names, and this is my complete matrix. This is my complete matrix. Now just apply chi-square dot test is equal to chi-square test of A. Now the chi-square test is 0.57, which means that these two attributes are independent to each other. They are not associated to each other. So this is very simple way of understanding. And chi-square test has some more, complexity things that when cell observations are less than 5, how to handle, what is Fisher exact test, something like that. There are many more things, but at the very basic level, how to understand why we need to apply chi-square test, how to understand the chi-square function, and how to understand the outcome and how to interpret the outcome is the plan of action as of now. Okay, so this is what we have done. And where is this? I have not copied. Okay, I have not copied this paid samples. Let me do that. Now I'm calling this data. This is the scores. If you see this pre-GDS score of the first elderly man is around, elderly person is 12, post is 11, 10, 10. There is no, individually if you see, there is no much kind of a difference. But on the whole, on an average, there might be some sort of a difference, but we have to verify it with the test statistic approach. Now, see this. This is the outcome what we have got, that t-value is 3.167, degrees of freedom is 14, that is n minus 1, and p-value is 0.006. On the whole, the experiment what they have conducted on elderly people have impacted in a slight declining way of depression scale. What is it? How much declinement is? Around 1.6. The mean of the differences, this mean of the difference is nothing but pre-GDS minus post-GDS, because the magnitude of difference is positive. Okay, means the pre-GDS value has a higher value than the post-GDS value. So this 1.6 is nothing but, in terms of, we can understand that it is a gain due to the experimentation to control the depression in the elderly people. Okay, that is elderly people. And this 95% confidence interval is for this mean differences. So when you conduct the experiment on the same multiple times, definitely the mean difference will range from 0.51 to 2.68. Okay, so this is a simple way to understand. Suppose if I convert the alternative hypothesis as greater, then I will get p-value as 0.0034, still it is significant, and the confidence interval, as I said yesterday, T F chi square or one tail right side test, the p-value will start from x to infinity. So this calculated value will be used to, this value will be used to compute the p-value, and the area of the confidence interval will also be computed basing on the mean difference. Okay, so this is the way to understand, in a simple way to understand the outcomes of paid sample t-test, chi-square test, and chi-square test. Now we'll move further. We'll move further with understanding two-way ANOVA, where we have that. Yeah, here. Okay, I'm using some another data set called Searle Power. The data set is about different kinds of cells, and let us see the data now. Now this is the data what I have. Low power, current, and high. And this is the Searle, first type, second type, and third type. Okay, and this is the weight in grams. Okay, weight in grams. So now the variation among the weight across different types of power and different kinds types of Searle is to be administered. Okay, so the variation, when I control this, suppose when I shade this completely, this experiment will become one way ANOVA, because I want to observe which Searle type is able to give me more weightage in the, I mean more improvement in the weight. Okay, suppose if I add one more kind of a power, that is low, current, high, then I am observing the weight factor along with the different types of Searle and different types of power. Okay, so two factors are influencing in understanding the gain in the weight. Okay, so that's what we go with is two-way analysis of variance. So this data is being used now. Come to the code line. I'm storing the data in TWAV, that is just for two-way ANOVA analysis of variance. And how to conduct two-way analysis of variance is the same argument, you have, the same function you have to use, AOV, analysis of variance. Okay, when I remove this, it will become one-way ANOVA. Okay, when we have one more factor, just add that factor with plus symbol, Serral. Are you getting it? Suppose if I have only power, then it will become one factor ANOVA. But in this data, I have one more factor. How to add the factor? Use the same argument, but in the right-hand side of the modulo operator, just plus that particular another factor. Okay, so this will enable us to generate the total analysis of variance of two-way ANOVA with significance of power and significance of Serral and residuals. Okay. Now sometimes we might have another concept called interaction effect. Okay, sometimes called an interaction effect. Then that interaction should be indicated by, should be defined as plus power colon. Okay, power colon Serral. Okay, so here two purposes of colon in R. When you use this colon with respect to numerical, it will generate a sequence of values that we have seen in the first few classes of this webinar. And now here, when we use for text format in interaction, the power interacted with Serral, what will be the impact? Okay, the interaction effect, that is the main effect. Main effect of power, main effect of Serral, power and Serral. So two-way ANOVA with interaction will come. So what are the slight differences we are observing? One-way ANOVA, two-way ANOVA with interaction and without interaction. In one-way ANOVA, left-hand side of the AOV function should have the numerical quantity, modulo operator, right-hand side should be the factor variable. That is what we define, and data is common. Okay, that is what we do for one-way ANOVA. Now coming to the two-way ANOVA, same. The numerical variable which is a comparison should be on the left hand side of the modulo parameter operator, and right hand side you will be having two factors now. Those two factors should be defined as factor 1 plus factor 2. Okay, now with interaction, factor 1 plus factor 2 plus factor 1 colon factor 2. Okay, so in this way we will be conducting the two-way analysis of variance. Actually, to speak, because this group is consisting of a lot of different disciplines, I'm not touching the mathematical flavor of the background, the linear model structure of the analysis of variance, two-way ANOVA, one-way ANOVA. It has a lot of what do you say? It's a pure linear model approach that has to be taken care of. So when the core statistics group is there, then we will start with the model aspect. What is general overall mean effect? What is the main effect? What is the interaction effect? How you understand the model? All these concepts will do come. Okay, I'm using deploy R. Deploy R is to just generate the mean and standard deviation across the thing, and further pairwise comparisons of weight, power, and Serral. Okay, I'm taking this and I'm showing with that is Mr. Okay, fine. We'll do step by step. First, let me load the library deploy R for computing descriptive statistics at the later stage. Okay, now it is installed. It is activated. Now I'm loading the data. I'm attaching the data for easy way of calling the variables and objects which are available in the data. And now this is the total output of two-way ANOVA. So this is rows, columns, and residuals, right? Across the power, the p-value is highly significant. That means there is a difference between the different levels of power in towards the outcome of weight. Even with respect to Serral, it is significant. Cells, it is significant, rising to the meaning that uh, even different types of Serrals are also having some influence, significant difference between the average weight across the types of Serrals. Okay, this is the residuals. Okay, now let us do with interaction. Okay, let us do with interaction. Interaction doesn't have an impact. When we club those two together, okay, then that doesn't have that combination, the combination of each level of power to the each level of Seral. Low with the Seral type 1, low with Seral type 2, low with Seral type 3, and so on and so forth. All these combination doesn't give some fruitful impact or influence on the outcome of interest. Okay, now let us see this. Let us do the pairwise test. Then we'll go with, this is with respect to power. Now here the power has, I mean the power, the p-value of the power factor is very highly significant. And when we start comparing each pairwise, all the pairwise comparisons are significant enough to claim, even at 0.013 level, right? Three groups at comparison, 0.013 level also, all the pairwise comparisons are at a significant level, right? Now, current and high, the weight with respect to the average weight in terms of high and current is significant. High and low and high is also significant. Now, let me try to add one thing because it is. Okay. Now, with respect to cell, it is only the Seral type 2 and 3, the average difference is significant. The rest 1 and 2 and 1 and 3 do not have much impact on the weight gain. So have similar impact on the weight gain, but whereas 2 and 3, they differ significantly. Now, what are the descriptive statistics to see? Okay, now see, the current, the type of the current power is current, Seral type 1, the average is 399 and standard deviation is 2.5. Likewise, for each combination of this, the statistics is generated. The statistics is generated. Okay, so this is what we do with the two-way analysis of variance without interaction and with interaction. Okay, fine. Now I'll give 5 minutes time, exactly 5 minutes time, or we will take all the questions at the last. Sorry, we'll take all the questions at the last. And now we'll move to the another aspect. What is that? A correlation. Wait a minute. What is that correlation? Fine. Now you're able to see the Sparrow data, right? Okay. Now I'm taking we will try to understand the importance of this correlation and regression. Okay, correlation and regression. What I feel is I'll give 5 minutes time to you to complete the inference part, and then we'll go to the modeling part. Okay, I'll stop my sharing the screen in 5 minutes of time. In 5 minutes of time, we can have a clear understanding about the inferential aspects. I mean, this page sample chi-square and two-way ANOVA. And then exactly now it is 11:13. By 11:18 or 11:20, we'll go with simple correlation and regression. As of now, do you have any doubts with respect to the two-way ANOVA, one-way ANOVA, something like that? If we have, then I'm ready to address in 5 minutes of time. Then we'll go further with simple correlation and regression. Your questions? You're thinking? How do we choose which postdoc has to be conducted? Good question. So there are a good number of listed, a big list of postdoc tests, starting with least significant different test, Bonferroni test, Stuckey's test, okay, Duncan's multiple range test, okay, and then Dunnett's test, okay, like this. There are many are there, but when I have gone through some few textbooks which are specifically for this a multiple comparison test and some online literature, what I found is Taki's test and Bonferroni test are quite preferable, which will control the family-wise error rate and will give us the exact computation of the p-values. Okay, you can prefer Taki or Bonferroni. DMRT, Duncan's multiple range test as well. Yeah. In case of categorical variable, do we need to factor as or not? It depends, but in terms of inference, this inferential part, so far what we have done, they're all factors only, but there is no problem. But when we use for graphs and the model, there you have to use as dot factor. It is not factor that as, it is as dot factor. We have to define as dot factor. Okay. Can you once again explain about paid t-test? Paid t-test is the dependent variables, the dependency observations for the same individual at the two different junctures. Okay, like the pain intensity score post surgery and after post 4 weeks. Okay, the rotation. Generally, physiotherapists, a lot of the physiotherapist data will be of this paid sample only. Okay, the BMI, especially obesity clinics, the BMI at the starting will be around 25.5 or 24.6. Let us take 25 individuals are inducted for BMI obesity training so that they can reduce the weight. Then after post 8 weeks or 10 weeks, then they will measure the BMI level. Okay, so this for the same individual pre-BM, before starting the training and after starting the training. So first side kind of a data environment, we have to use this. We have to use this paid test. Okay. Wait. Slow. One by one. How do we check the quality of these tests? Do bootstrapping quality. We cannot check the quality of a test. We can validate the values, I mean outcomes, just by repeatedly doing the test for multiple times. There is a concept called bootstrapping. Run the same technique for 100 times, then you will identify the bootstrap average, all these things, so that your values will be validated. If possible, explain the results of 2 ANOVA with interaction, without interaction. See, results of 2 ANOVA is okay. Fine. Okay, we'll stop with that Amar Tiwari's question. We don't raise any other form because by the time it will take a lot of time to explain. That's what. Stop questioning now. I have 4 to 5 questions to answer. Hope you are able to hear my voice. That I will take only 2 to 3 questions now. Then we will move to regression. At the end of the session of today's or this session, I'll try to answer the remaining questions. So kindly be patient. Okay. Okay, now what was the question? Yeah, two-way ANOVA with interaction, without interaction. So results of two-way without interaction, there, Searle and Power as a main effects, they are giving impact on the weight gain. Okay, but when we have the combination of different levels of each factor, okay, then that combination of that Searle and Power do not have any impact on the weight gain. That is the difference. Okay, in a simple way to understand. Is it okay to do paid t-test in ANOVA, or we should see total data environment is totally different. Paid t-test is for dependent samples. ANOVA, no, we cannot do a paid t-test in ANOVA, but there is another advanced technique called multivariate technique called repeated measures ANOVA, which is an extension of paid sample t-test. Okay, that is one thing. Regarding assumption, normality is must for independent sample. If one sample normality follows, second sample do not follow, then what to do? Okay, second, regarding paid t-test, post it. Then if such case arise, select the non-parametric test for independent sample t-test. Non-parametric is Mann-Whitney, where it is Wilcoxon match pair test. output, the depression. Okay, I will answer only one question because I think there are some people who have missed the first discussion part of this class. Again, they are asking for this. Okay, I requested you to stop questioning now because we are about to cover. Okay, and now what is where I have stuck it up now? Yeah, how to understand output of paid t-test. See, in the depression scale, what we have taken for presentation, there if you observe, the posted that 1.6 mean difference. 1.6 mean difference has a magnitude of positive. It means that the average pre-depression score is higher than the post-depression score. That's why the magnitude is plus. That magnitude indicates the plus symbol of 1.6 indicates that there is a declinement in their depression levels. Okay, this is what we have to understand. See, ANCOVA, MANOVA, all are advanced techniques. Okay, even ANCOVA is not covered. It is different when we have a categorical variable, a kind of a concomitant variable, we say. Then ANCOVA will come. I'm not touching here. When do need to use DMRT? So Duncan's multiple range test is also another pairwise comparison test. Okay, there is, I mean, especially Takis, Bonferroni, DMRT, all these things are used for pairwise comparisons. Okay, sample size limitation for paid t-test. As my knowledge goes, there is no limitation, but both the samples before and after should be same. Here, if you take 25 before starting the training, the same 25 should be till the end of the training. Okay, right. Now we'll start. Thank you. Thank you for your questions. Then we'll move to this another part of concept called simple regression. Okay. Now we have to understand the concept of correlation and regression. We'll start with simple correlation and simple regression. Means only for bivariate data. One variable, total correlation regression works on continuous type of variables where we need to understand the relational behavioral degree of intensity between a pair of variables. Okay, simple correlation is nothing but you have one variable and x-axis, the other variable and y-axis. You first have a scatter plot of that bivariate data. Okay, that scatter plot will tell how far the data points are close enough across the axis of xy, and then what it is trying to tell us, that is what we have to understand. The scatterness of the data will tell us to understand in what magnitude the data points of x is influencing the y. Okay, and is it in a magnitude of upward direction, magnitude of downward direction, and is the data scattered around. That means, let us take some example that weight of a vehicle. Okay, weight of a vehicle and weight of the, I mean, mileage given by it. If the weight of vehicle is, let us take 80 kilos, 95 kilos, 100 kilos, 120, 140, and so on, 150. But well, then what about the mileage of the vehicle? Mileage of the vehicle slowly will gradually will come down. Okay, so the weight of the vehicle will impact in a negative way to give rise the declinement, I mean, a negative direction, negative relation with respect to the mileage and weight of the vehicle. Okay. Similarly, the acceleration impact and then the speed or the distance traveled. As you go, increase the speed, the distance traveled. All these examples will come with a positive correlation. Okay. Age and income. I have another variable because they are also continuous. I can raise a question that yes, I want to compute age and income as a kind of correlation between age and income. Is that really matters? Is it really matters? Age and income, increasing age, definitely your income will increase. Not necessarily. There is no relation at all. That is what we call options of correlation. So meaningful variables should be taken before you go into modeling. This is the point I want to convey. Just like that, blindly don't go for model fitting. First, you have to understand the degree of intensity between the pair of variables in the study, okay, that are under consideration. Then only you have to start modeling. So understand the data phenomenon graphically, then only it will give a lot of support to build a model, and then we can understand how best the model with respect to the model adequacy and mean square error value. Here we have a 13 sparrow data, wing length of 13 sparrows of various ages. Okay, it starts from day 3, day 4, day 5, and wing length in centimeters. Okay, so as the days of the sparrow, I mean, over the days of sparrows, the wing length gradually is increasing. Okay, this we will take as an example of a simple regression. Now you can think that what about day 2 and day 1? But when a baby is born, when a sparrow is born, it will have its static, I mean, it will have its some sort of a measurements. Let us take at the day 1, it may be with zero point 0.7 or zero point 0.9, wing length may be 0.9 centimeters. So that the constant, that will depend as a constant information. Okay, and thereafter, what is the trajectory that as the days goes on increasing, can I estimate, can I predict the wing length that at a particular day 20, what might be the wing length of this particular sparrow? Okay, right. Now we are loading the data. Then first way to do is to take the correlation value. Okay, then of any parameter, any measure, that is mu, sigma, okay, mu variance, or this correlation value rho. The sample correlation will be taken into for testing. What is the formula behind is t statistic is another application. The another application of t test is testing the correlation coefficient. That is t is equal to r into square root of n minus 2 by square root of 1 minus r square. Okay, so that computed correlation value is the small r in the formula, and that will get computed. If it is p-value is significant, that means the rho is not equal to 0. It has some influence that there is some sort of a good amount of correlation between the age and wing length. Okay, once the first step in modeling is to observe the graphical, the second step is to observe the correlation. Then if the amount of correlation is not significant, then don't entertain modeling. If the let us, for instance, let us suppose the correlation is 0.4. Okay, then what you do? If the and the correlation test is insignificant, then that is a pure evidence that the independent variable, the age what you have taken, is not supportive enough to predict the wing length for next set of data points. For next set of data points. So in such manner, we should be very careful before you start doing any modeling. You have to do correlation, and then, I mean, before that you have to do the scatter plot. Okay. Now, how to build a model? Very simple, very simple. One line code of R, that LM, linear model. LM, left hand side is your dependent variable, modulo operator. Right hand side is your independent variable, and you have to call the data. That's it. You have built the model. Okay. Summary of SR is gives the ANOVA table. Okay, and then this what is the difference between the scatter and smooth plot is scatter smooth by default it will generate a kind of a fitted observed fitted value, and plot doesn't give, it will give only a scatter plot. But to have a fitted line on that particular scatter plot, you need to have a function called add line. Okay, data where the data is fitted. SR is the variable where the fitted model is stored, and line width and color. Okay, up to this model building, plotting, everything is done. Now, I have ready, have the model which is fitted in my hand. Okay, I want to predict some more wing lengths given certain ages. Okay, I want to predict the wing lengths for a given days of 19th day, 22nd day, 24th day. How do I do? First, I have to define that ages which are where we are wishing to predict as a data frame that should be stored in one variable. Okay. Now store all the predictions for the existing data points, 15, 13 data points into a variable predict. Now, I am storing new predictions as pred new and using a function called predict. Okay, this is SR contains the fitted model. New data where the new predictions are to be obtained is stored in age new. I repeat again, age new has to be taken, has to be defined in the sense that for what values of age you want to predict the wing length. That has to be stored using the data.frame in age new. Now store all the existing predictions in another variable. Now in order to predict the wing length for given ages, use predict function. Within that parenthesis, the first argument is the fitted model, that is here SR, and the new data argument should be defined as the ages for which you want to predict the wing lengths. Okay. Now this pred new will contain the new predictions. Now what I'm trying to do is new observations I'm taking. Okay, I have 13 data points here. I have three more records of age new, that is 19, 20, 22. I have three new predictions of the same, and I am clubbing column bind. C bind is nothing but column bind. Okay, now I am defining the names of new observations of this names, that is age and wing length. Okay, the next step is I am doing R bind. R bind is nothing but row bind. What is the purpose of row bind? I am trying to add where the actual data is stored. And actual data is stored in CR. CR contains 13 samples, whereas new observation contains three more observations. So I'm trying to add the new observations, appending or joining the new observations to the existing data set to make it as a complete frame. Complete frame, that is 13 already existing observations along with the wing length, existing wing length, and then the new three records along with the predicted values of the wing length. So that will get stored in fit data. Okay. A row dot names of fit data is equal to null will create a sequence of indexing numbers on the thing. Okay. Now we can view the fit data that will list the total 15 observations or 16 observations. Now, another way, suppose all the data set is ready. I want to make it is used for some other purpose. I want to store it in my drive. Then what will happen is write.csv. That means I'm writing this particular data frame to my drive working directory and storing with the CSV. We have to give this file name. This is the path and file name you have to give, and its extension row.names is equal to false. What do you mean by row.names is equal to false is you will have an indexing value 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 13, 14, 15. That will not be stored when you do this kind of a row.names is equal to false. Okay, so all these exercises we'll do one by one, and once we do this we will understand what all we have discussed step by step. Let me take a new one, new script. Okay, first we are trying to load the data, attach the data, and plot the data. Plot the data. Now this is the plot. See, as the days goes on, age in days increasing, there is a slight trajectory where that increasing age, there is a gradual improvement and there is a pattern. See, after every 2 to 3 days, the pattern has its is being observed. Now, to have absolute line, I use this code AB line of that. Sorry, I have to fit the model first. We'll come to that later. Scatter dot smooth. Scatter dot smooth is this. Now you see the difference in just the plot. In just the plot, we had the scatter plot where increasing in age there is a increasing of wing length. But the scatter dot smooth, it has depicted two things. One, the scatter plot along with the smooth line which is fitted across the points of the xy coordinate. Okay. Now let us understand the correlation between those things. The function to obtain the correlation is cor. Okay. Now run. Okay. What is the correlation value? It is 0.987. Now I'm testing whether this is equal to 0 or not using this chord test. Now chord test resulted a significant p-value indicating that the true correlation is not equal to 0. The alternative hypothesis is true correlation is not equal to 0. Okay, and the estimate of correlation is 0.986. That means to this is the maximum good amount of correlation where age is good supportive enough to predict the wing length at the most perfection, with at the most perfection. Okay, now let us build the model. This is the model. Okay, now how to understand this model? Expect y cap is nothing but wing length is equal to 0.71. Let me write here for your understanding. Expected value of wing length we write. Okay, expected value of wing length is equal to 0. Let me define it as a comment so that error should not come, as 0.7131 plus 0.2702 into age. This is my model. This is my model. Now this is the intercept. You can observe here. It starts with here. Okay, it starts with here. 0.7 means at the initial stage, on an average, the wing length will be 0.7 centimeters. Okay, as the age increases with a unit increase in age, that will get multiplied with the slope parameter, that is beta, and that will get added with the existing constant value, and that will give us the information about the wing length for a particular age in days. Okay, this is what we call the fitted model and understanding the intercept and slope. So as and when the sparrow is born, the on an average, the wing length might be, it will be 0.71 centimeters. And as the age goes on increasing day by day, then this will get along with this slope, because this is the beginning. Okay, along with this slope, along with this intercept value, the slope will get multiplied. A unit increasing age will result in the same unit rate increase in the dependent variable, that is wing length. Now, what about the summary? Summary will tell about the significance of regression model. This is what we call regression. If you remember, there is a very good book by Fundamentals of Statistics by Gun Gupta, Das Gupta, or S.C. Gupta and V.K. Kapoor. In regression chapter and correlation chapter, they use a statement called stepping back towards an average. Regression, they define in terms of stepping back towards an average. What is meant by average? In a statistical sense, expected value of any variable is the average. Okay, stepping back towards an average using the regression, this equation, where we are trying to estimate the expected value of the dependent variable, that is your y cap. Okay, so whether this equation is significant enough to talk about dependent variable to a maximum extent possible. That is what we're trying to understand here. Okay, the model age is significant, the variable is significant, and significant means age is supportive enough to predict the wing length. To what accuracy? This is the R square value, that is 0.97. 97.33 percentage of variation in wing length can be explained by age. By age. So how you get this R square manually? Just simply square of R. What is R? Core, where is I have stored coral, no? Coral, okay. The core of what are the variables here? Comma, age, comma, wing length. Okay. Now, I want to make it square of 2. You got 9733. This is what you have. Okay. The square of the correlation is your R square. Very simple to understand. Okay. That's why they say higher the correlation, better the model. That's why higher the correlation, better you go with the model fitting. This is the link between the connection between correlation and regression. As weaker the model, suppose model is correlation is 0.4. What is the square of 0.4? It is 0.16. 16% information will be supportive enough by the independent variable towards estimating y. Is it good? No, not at all. So that's why first build the correlation, observe the correlation, test its significance. Then only you go for model building. Okay. Now the fitting, this is another way to fit the line. So this small area, vertical axis, what you are looking is the intercept, and this is the slope. Okay. Now let us predict the values. I'm storing the predict. Now I will do one. Let me show the predict new. Okay, predict now is done. I'm running the predict. I'm trying to estimate the predicted value of wing length given age is 19 days, 22 days, and 24 days. And these are the new predictions for 19th day, 20th day, and 24th day. See, by default, it is indexed as 1, 2, 3. That's why we are using when column bind, and we are using new observations as age across wing length. Okay. Now, fit.data. Okay. Uh, Earlier we had 13 observations, right? You can see here. You can see here. Where is that CR data? Yeah, 13 observations of 2 variables. Okay. Now we have added 19, 22, 24. These are all the prediction values. Okay. Now I am writing this data to Excel file. Okay, I can show you that also, where it got stored. Where is my folder? In KBN, you have the sparrow data fit. Okay, see. So I can store like this. I can store the total output where I can use for further purpose. So I stop here. I stop here for the morning session. Afternoon session, we go with multiple in regression. I need completely 1 hour for multiple in regression. That's why I was little hurry in covering a simple regression concept. Okay, fine. So any questions now? I'll at a time for if Vijay permits me for 5 more minutes, exactly by 11:50 or so, we'll try to complete the session.
Okay, sir. We can
Yeah,
wait.
yeah. Yeah, it's an estimated trend line. Scattered dot smooth is nothing but your estimated trend line only. Casualty, that is a different context. Okay, that and all concepts are we have to see it. I have to address it separately. Okay, any questions? How to expertise non-computer students in our language? Just start from the scratch. Use this, the R book, Michael Crawley, or use the codes of this webinar. Then you will get practice very easily. Okay, my attempt is to make everyone. I mean, my practice is to make the things very simpler. Okay. Okay, good question. How do we interpret the result with R equal to 0.61 and p value greater than 0.05? It won't come. It won't come. I'll show you in multiple regression for zero point 0.5 or 0.49 also. Okay, value is significant. Okay, so when your value is 0.61, most of the time the p value will not be greater than 0.05. So simply understand the formula behind R into square root of n minus 1 minus R square. 0.61 into number of samples, let us take 15, square root of 13 by 1 minus square root of 1 minus 0.61 square. That will result and it will not be equal to 0. The p-value will be significant. What should be the minimum sample size to conduct correlation and regression? There is a thumb rule that basing on the number of predictors you have, 1:10 ratio is the thumb rule. Okay, 1:10 ratio. If you have one independent variable, then there should be 10 records. Okay. We have done no absolute line, AB line, which is a predicted line only. Can you suggest the book for R? There are many variety of books are there. That the best book is the R book by Michael Crawley, or the title of this. Uh, the best way is to look into Analytics Vidya. They are very nicely presenting the concepts in a very simple manner. Determination of adequate sample size for which? Is it for single proportion, two proportion, single sample, two sample, ANOVA, repeated measures, model, linear model, logistic regression? For what you want to determine the sample size? Okay, the sample size determination is a very huge portion. Okay, basing on the study design, basing on the context, and the model you apply, automatically the formula will vary. Thomas Ryan is one, he has written one textbook, sample size determination. Very nicely he has explained how to connect sample size determination, determining sample size before conducting any experiment of hypothesis testing or model building. Best YouTube channel? I don't know, madam. I don't know, sir or madam. I am not aware of that best YouTube channel. I myself is one channel of learning. Obviously, we have to test for the linearity. Okay, using histogram or Kolmogorov-Smirnov. The R book. The R book by Michael Crawley. Another one. Mathematical statistics. Okay, sir, explain again is what is the use of t-test and f-test? Okay, a basic difference is, okay, restrict the discussion with two sample and more than two samples. Okay, yesterday we have taken example of pond 1 and pond 2. There you have two independent ponds where the samples of eight samples in each pond. Okay, eight samples in each pond. So I want to compare the average pH level of two different ponds. So there we have to use t-test. when the group size, the number of where the number of points increases more than 2, then we have to go for ANOVA. Then there where it will come F statistic. Okay. F statistic is purely based on sum of squares due to regression and sum of squares due to error. That's why to test the significance of the fitted regression, whether it is adequate enough to predict the dependent variable, there we use F statistics, where we observe the variability explained by the regression model and the error residuals of the regression model, and take the ratio of it. That will give us the F statistics there in regression. Reliability checking better. Reliability means you're talking about Likert scale, Anjana. Is it about Likert scale data? If it is Likert scale data, then you have to go with Cronbach alpha, split alpha, different techniques are there. Okay, let me try to cover the techniques which are planned in this thing. Then we'll cover the bootstrapping. Okay. I mean, I'll try to use of bootstrapping with this inference or any other modeling. Let me try. Serial correlation comes with the time series. Okay. If I'm wrong, correct me, please. Serial correlation, what I have read is comes with time series analysis. Okay, that we'll cover, I think, tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think we have planned the time series analysis, basic time series analysis. I'm not going to cover Arima, Sarima, some Gauch touch. I'm not covering that. Basic, what is a